information. In fact, some of you might be thinking, I bet you Joe set them up and specifically said, Mike, I want you to address this part of the Sherpa program. And Mark, first, make sure you hit this part of the Sherpa program because we want to make sure we promote what we do. I promise that was not the case. In fact, I specifically told everyone that came up today, I don't care what the Sherpa program told you. I don't care what we promote. Do it as if whatever you did that truly helped you gain that internship. It so happens that almost everything that was brought up is part of the Sherpa program, and that's not by chance. It's because the best practices philosophy is what the Sherpa program is based off. We simply have taken over the past several years, and each year we relook at what are the main things that are really differentiating our students and having them be successful. And it so happens that that's part of the Sherpa deliverables, the tracking forms that people go through. This PowerPoint has been emailed out to everyone. I won't go into the details, but we took all the different pieces of advice and put it together on the slides. And so each of the different categories has what was the main area and then some of the different quotes by the people who have been successful. And because they hit on it so well, I won't even go through that. The one thing I will say is these action items with almost everyone that has an internship, not just this year, but I've talked to the past several years of those who had success getting internships. Almost all of them say the same thing. First off, it was a priority. And so when it came to setting aside time for it, we are all extremely busy. And you will always have more homework than you have time. And so the difference is those who have success met at 7 o'clock in the morning and did their stories. Or they were in the shower rehearsing, or they were talking to their spouse. But they set aside time to be able to do the most important things to lead to that internship. The other thing too is they all said it. You know, I met with my Sherpa and we had weekly meetings where I got feedback. Now the Sherpas are not the know-it-alls. They're people that have been successful, but they're just the ones that are going to help you jumpstart the best practices. And so the goal of the Sherpa program isn't actually, we want you just to meet with your Sherpa and only that Sherpa. The goal is, you meet with your Sherpa, tell that person what you're wanting to do. Man, I'm looking at high tech, I'm looking at geographical locations, I'm looking at whatever it is, and then that Sherpa works as an opportunity and resource broker to help you get to the people that can help you, and to practice, to do whatever it is. So the new goal of the Sherpa program is we're focusing a lot less on the individual Sherpa-climber relationship, and now saying the Sherpa should have at least 4 or 5 interactions with different climbers per month. So if you're a first year, you should be talking to your Sherpa and saying, hey, who else can I talk to? I want to work on my resume, I want to work on my interviewing, whatever it is that you want to work on, and saying, can you meet me up with another 2 or 3 people that are specific under this area, and let's get it going that way. The next question is, I brought this up at the very beginning of the year, and now that you've had some time to have school go by a little bit, it hopefully is a little bit more impactful. But I asked you the question of these 2 groups of people that I'm going to tell you about, which one would you rather be? It's as of February of 2009, so my class. And now February is not very long away. In fact, you're starting to think, wow, that's a little over a month. It's coming pretty quick. So as of February 2009, the first group of people, 63% of that group had an internship offer in hand come February 1st, 2009. The second group, 8% had an internship offer in hand. And the main difference between these 2 groups was that the first group took advantage of the Sherpa program, meaning of those deliverables or of those best practices that lead to internship offers, that group had completed over 78% of that tracking sheet. In fact, most of them had completed either 100% or pretty close to it. The second group didn't complete at least 78%. So in fact, most of this group was at about 50%. So it wasn't that they weren't having effort, it wasn't that they weren't trying, it was simply that they just needed that little bit additional to give them that edge, to really be able to set themselves apart. Now when I talk about these Sherpa, the different checklists, I want to make sure I'm very clear. I am not saying that if you complete the checklist, you will for sure get an internship. There's experience, there's personality, there's a lot of factors that go into the decision-making process. However, what I am saying is we can see a strong correlation of those who are prepared versus those who are not prepared. versus those who are using the best practices versus those who are not using the best practices. Just like my simple example of, I was doing sales and I was doing what had worked for me in the past, but by just applying what the best practices of the people that were having success were, now I was prepared to be able to have that additional result. This chart shows right here, we break it up into 3 main groups. The first group completed over 78% of the tracking checklist. The second group did 50 to 77%, and the third group, less than half of the different deliverables of the tracking checklist. So of that first group of over 78%, 39 of the 75 had offers as of the beginning of the second semester. So you're looking at over 50% of that group had an offer. The second group, 3 of 58, only 5% of that group had an offer. And the last group, of course, if you're not doing it and working after it, 0 of the 7 that were in that group. Now, that shows the actual result of getting an internship, but the second part is, what about on-campus interviews? That's the first step. You can't get an internship unless you have an interview in the first place. You can see the results. 72 of the 75 had received an interview on campus. The second group dropped down to less than 60%. The last group, 0%. Once again, this doesn't mean that as long as you do the deliverables, you're guaranteed success. But if you do not have an internship at this point, I would say there is 0 reason why you shouldn't be working to have 100% completion of the Sherpa tracking checklist. Simply because you don't know yet which one's going to be the one that's going to help you.